Welcome to Skillcast, the podcast by the London Organisation of Skills Development, where skills are the forefront of all conversations. My name is Nurbanu, and I'll be the host for Season 1. Join me as I dig deep and be a little nosy and find out the story behind the skills our expert guests share with us.
Today I'm joined with Nagendra, who's come from Bangalore. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you. I'm Nagendra Prasad Nonamanikare. I'm basically an engineer by profession. I did my graduation way back about 30 years back, and I've been in the technology industry for the last 30 years. In the initial few years, it was telecom, mobile. Last 11 years has been into automotive. And that's a quick background, and I possess a US patent in the area of test automation.
Oh, wow. So just automobiles and just cars.
Right.
What's your favorite car?
I like BMW actually. Hope to buy one soon. I know it's the highest.
What will your company say about that?
I actually work as a freelance consultant.
Okay.
As a technology consultant, I work with the tier 1 OEMs of the automotive world. In the automotive world, the ecosystem works in the way where we have a tier 1 and OEM. Tier 1 are the suppliers who do the electronics part of it, and the OEMs are the one who assemble together and manufacture the vehicles. Examples of tier 1 are Harman, Denso, Panasonic, Continental. OEMs, of course, everybody BMW, Audi's, Mercedes-Benz. These are the OEMs. My area of work is in validation and test automation. So I work with these organizations where we bring in solutions for testing the ECUs developed. That's what I work as a freelance consultant.
So tell me about a recent project that you've been working on.
Recently, I've been working with Harman International. They're one of the top tier 1 suppliers in the automotive world. Basically, what they do is provide all the electronics. For example, the major thing we work on is called ADAS systems, Advanced Driver Assistance, where the automotive industry is moving towards an autonomous vehicle mode, where it's going to be driverless soon. If not for COVID, by now we would have a lot of robot taxis on road. Tesla had promised by 2020. So what we do is these ADAS features, for example, automatic emergency braking, automatic cruise control, adaptive cruise control, blind spot information system. These are the ones where we need to test in the lab. Basically, what's happening is when we get into an autonomous vehicle at the highest level, which is level 5, autonomous vehicles range from 0 to 5. 0 is a conventional vehicle where the driver has complete control. Autonomous level 5 is when there's absolutely no control of the vehicle by the driver. It's actually a vehicle with no steering wheels and no pedals. So even if case required, driver can't take any control. There's no intervention possible. So the challenge is to test this in our lab environment. Because if you have to really test it in a real world, it take 30, 40 years, because that's the kind of scenarios, the complex scenarios involved. So what we have been doing is try to bring in all this environment into a lab system. So these are called as detailed twins. For example, if I'm here in the Oxford University in the new college, there is a digital footprint of the complete map here, the Holy Street here, the King's Arms restaurant there. So the whole environment is brought into a lab and simulated, emulated, and vehicle or equivalent ECU, electronic control unit, is tested in this environment. So my work in the recent past has been developing automation solutions where we mimic the real world scenario. For example, we have a lot of customer tools, commercial tools available to do this. But there's also effort which goes in to bring in the tools to action into the lab. So that's what I've been doing, where, for example, simple example is we're going to build a scenario where we say that there's a traffic stream recognition post, and we show a display of maybe 60 miles an hour and simulate as if the vehicle is driving at 70 miles an hour. So does the vehicle pick up the signal from the picture? It has a lot of sensors like camera sensors, radar sensors, LiDAR sensor, ultrasonic sensor. So the traffic sensor recognition mostly works on the camera sensor. So what we do in lab is just showcase that video and bring in the camera sensor to point to the monitor, and the ECU assumes that it's actually driving on the road. So now it sees a traffic sensor recognition of 60 miles and it knows that vehicle is at 70, it alerts the driver to speed down. And for example, if it's a critical zone like a school zone, it would even go and apply a deceleration and reduce the speed of the vehicle. So these are the kind of things we are doing in our lab right now. And I work as a solution architect to build these solutions.
Oh, wow. How long does the testing normally take in the labs?
See, typically in the past, a vehicle could come out in 3-4 years. But looking at the demand in the market and the competition, the cycle has come down to about 18 months. So once a concept is done, a feature is developed, feature is defined, implemented, tested to roll out, automotive industry typically takes about 3 years to bring in a vehicle out. So it's about 18 months of testing is what we expect to do in the lab.
So in the lab, when you're doing testing, how many times do you have to test out a certain aspect?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question actually. We have different types of validation. One is called as stability testing. What we do is basically check a basic feature. For example, does it pick up a traffic signal? And does it do it consistently? So what we do is probably we put it for a 24 or 36 hours continuous execution to make sure that it doesn't break anything. This is one type of testing where we say that a given feature work consistently across a long haul. Whereas other features are, for example, I want to do the full-blown testing of the complete product, which is about maybe, just to give a view of it, it's about 25 to 30,000 test cases. So if executed manually, it would take maybe for a 20 people team about a month just to do one pass of all features. So we automate it and we typically run this in the span of 2 to 3 months. Such tests we do at least 5-6 times before the product gets launched. So that's the 18 months of cycle where we have a full pass of 25,000, 30,000 test cases executed in the major releases of software and long haul stability on a continuous basis to make sure that nothing is getting broken while the features are getting built and getting enhanced. Nothing should get broken in the way. So we have multiple types of testing: stability, integration, regression.
So how do you record all the testing? Do you have a certain format or what do you do?
Yeah, actually, industry provides a lot of tools. For example, I can give a few examples called HP ALM or a test trail, which says that your complete test suite management, we call it as end-to-end validation, where you have your test artifacts, your planned execution cycle, the test results. All these go as artifacts in a repo, and a lot of tools are available. We use these tools. For example, tomorrow, if you want to just go by refer back, if you come across a defect, something stopped working, you want to check if this really worked 3 months back. So we have the complete artifacts, the complete repository available. So there are tools which archive all these test scenarios, test results, software release plan, all that stuff. So we use a lot of tools for that.
So how many people are involved in each test?
Actually, if the complete validation team could span up to a large team, for example, it's about 150 to 180 people if you want to do a full-blown testing for 18 months. So the automation is where it helps us reduce the cost and effort and the time. So it's a typical team of 150 to 180, but as the product matures, the team slightly shrinks. The way it works is the team moves to a next product. So on an average, you can always assume that at least 150, 200 people of validation always available. Depending on the product, it either increases or decreases, but there's a kind of team size we're looking at.
Well, and they just do the testing.
Correct. It's just testing, but what happens is some defects are tricky. It doesn't appear always. For example, a defect the frequency of occurrence could be just 10%, which means that you test 10 times, only one of the times it shows up a defect. So apart from the regular testing, that validation team also has to support the development team to see if they come across an issue. They say, please reproduce this for me, collect some logs for me, give me the exact scenario when this defect occurred. So team actually helps in all this. Apart from that, there's also the new hardware which keep coming in. So you have to keep upgrading the bench infrastructure, you have to keep maintaining the host machines, the lab has to be maintained. Apart from the regular execution, there's a lot of other activities which go hand in hand with the validation activities.
So it seems like you love your job so much. How did you fall into this particular job?
Actually, that's an interesting thing, actually. As I said, I started with the telecom industry long back, about 30 years back. I was working on base station software. So then from base station software, I moved into mobile software. So mobile, as I saw that the mobile and automobile industry is converging. As you see now, right, there's Android Auto, CarPlay, where it's a seamless migration from mobility to automobile. So that's when I decided I should switch to automobile industry, coming with a strong telecom mobile background. And going forward, it's like a connected car. And mobile phone is as good as you use in a car. So probably in future, they'll not be using phones at all. Everything is happening through the dashboard, the infotainment system of the vehicle. So that's when I decided to switch to this domain 11 years back, 2013 onwards.
So in terms of your degree, what did you actually study?
I've done my diploma in electronics. There I gained a lot of practical knowledge. Then what I understood was that a lot of engineering aspects are missed. So I did my graduation in electronics engineering from one of the premier institutes in Bangalore called Vishweshwaraya Engineering College. So I've done my diploma and engineering in electronics.
So how many years ago was that?
That was long back. So, 1990 is when I completed my diploma in electronics, and 94, that's a 4 years engineering course. 1994 is when I graduated as an electronics engineer from Bangalore University.
Oh, wow. I was born in 1994.
I could imagine that.
Long.
I know, I get
You must be very experienced.
I get this input feedback every time in my office. They say that I was not even born when we were. So I always keep joking them. When I was doing 1 plus 1 as a binary, 1 plus 1 is 1 0 in binary. Probably they were doing 1 plus 1 as 2 then. So, so of course, yeah, it's a long time. And the industry is maturing. And interesting to see that the way the technology is evolving. So, for example, the last 10 years itself, we had never, at least I had never heard of an autonomous vehicle. I'd seen in one of these Hollywood fiction movies 25 years back. But interestingly, all these Hollywood fictions are coming true. So, so I've seen a lot of technology evolution and happy that I'm part of this evolution.
Yeah, because things have just rapidly changed. Because if you look at like the first PC I had one in the late 90s, so like maybe in 1999, there was like this massive big computer, and now you're looking at all these slimline like MacBooks and things. It's crazy how things have evolved so quickly. I remember having a Nokia brick phone in my teenage years, and now I have a smartphone. It's moved so quickly. Like back in the days, in the 50s, the 60s, things were moving so slowly. True. And now things are so rapidly moving. And like you mentioned, the testing, like you've got, 150 people doing the same testing again. I think the resources and the number of people that are out there, I think there's many more people now involved in the entire process.
In fact, what they say is that the technology evolution which happened last 100 years back, that has achieved in last 10 years. That's the scale of exponential growth in technology and innovation which is happening. Just to add to what you said, right? I said about 150 people, 200 people doing the testing. Yeah. But soon what we are doing is when we graduate into a product, it turns into automation. So these people, once they develop an automation script, they no longer sit and execute that. All happens in the background through a automation environment.
Yeah, it sounds like right now there's so many people in the team. And I'm intrigued to know in the next 10 years how those teams are going to reduce, because we're going to have robots and we're going to have AI doing the same testing that humans are doing. Isn't it scary, like being in a field? Do you have this fear, like maybe a robot might take over my job now, like the role that I'm doing? Or do you still think humans are required in the work you do?
In my view, I think humans are required. Maybe it'll take a couple of more decades where it's completely replaced. Of course, as I was saying, that Hollywood movie, one of them showed that I think it's called iRobot or something, Will Smith movie, which took over the complete world. So I think there's time for that. At least in my lifetime, I think I'm safe.
You'll be retired and you'll say.
Yeah, I think I'm safe.
For the young people out there, what do you think they could do? Because obviously the work that you're doing is incredible, but someone who wants to do your work may not get the opportunity. What can they do? What can they do differently in order to ensure that they still have work? Because it's going to get way more competitive. You're going to be competing against AI, which is impossible. Right. So what would you say to them?
One good thing, what I observed so far in my experience is that these days, a lot of things are available as open source and public information. For example, if I want to build my infotainment system, Android provides an opportunity. Android has something called as Android Studio. You can just build it over on your laptop, desktop, build it. And once you do that, right, there's a continuous innovation. For example, you would have come across yourself like, what if I had this feature in my car? So it's so easy. They can go and just build that application themselves and try it out on a host machine or even on a target board. So that way, there's a tremendous opportunity for you to try and learn a lot of things. And if they can apply their thoughts, they can still be relevant and bring in a lot of value to the industry as well. So, because industry has a limited resources, limited time, limited budget to work on things. But if, for example, I work with academia closely. I work with one of the premier institutes in Bangalore called PESU, PS University. And there I work with students. Students are really smart. They bring in a lot of thoughts on technology innovation. So they can always stay relevant because the environment, the public information, the tools available for free are so vast that they can build a lot of things on their own and collaborate with industry to bring in value.
Is there any particular skills that, from your experience, that you think are so important in your field?
One thing, as we know, right, the big techies, apart from the social media where it's Meta or other things, it's Google and Apple. So Apple is a closed environment. We don't get to access much. It's always cost. You have to pay money for it. Whereas Google has embraced a totally different model. They say that everything is for free. For example, Google Android Studio, you can just download. Of course, it takes a few hours to download with a good network connectivity, but people can just download that and try out a lot of things. So simple as a simple application. I would say that a graduate, somebody who's studying in a technical field, what they can do is just build an Android package download, build a simple solution where you have a lot of image processing through OpenCV. What they can do is they can do a simple app where there's a face recognition, the picture of your face is taken, and build an algorithm. Of course, a lot of Python packages are available to build this algorithm where it says that this is you. And if it is you, you have so many privileges. For example, in a vehicle, you could get access to a vehicle, start a vehicle. So they can keep learning on a lot of things which is available for free. Android open source, Android Automotive is a OS where they can try out a lot of things. That's what I would say. As I said, Apple, you can't do much. It comes with a cost. For students, it may not be affordable. Android has a lot of things. And as I said, OpenCV provides a lot of utilities to build your solutions for image and video processing, even audio processing for that matter. So if I have a problem statement today, for example, I want to do a voice recognition. I say that when I speak out something in my home, of course, there are solutions like Amazon, which provides already. But if you want to build something on your own, you can do all these things. And also, it's a great way of learning things and applying your thoughts.
So you've told me so much about your work and the skills that are involved. Do you have any passion projects or anything you do on the side?
Yes, actually, I love acting. So, yeah, I love theater. So,
okay, that's like your opposite side now.
It's completely opposite. So
it sounds fun. What are you doing now?
So actually, even recently I've acted in a movie, but I pick up short roles, because I have a full-time job. I can't really take a risk on that because I have to make sure that my bills are paid in time. So what I do is I say job is for ration and this is passion. So So what I do is whenever there's an opportunity like a 1 day or a 2 day schedule, I pick up these rules. Recently, I was one of the government officers for a movie. It's an educative movie about electoral system. So earlier, I worked on a commercial movie as well. That's on the OTT platform as well. So I do this, and I like to travel alone. I like solo traveling.
What?
Just pack back and travel alone, drive through. And since it's now after COVID world, you could work from anywhere. So I have that liberty. So since I work as a consultant, so I just pick up my car or even sometimes train, go to pilgrimage places or just travel destinations, work from there, visit places, meet people. Acting and districts are my...
That sounds really cool. So you've got that work-life balance.
Yes, yes.
And the amazing thing about the job role, you've got that flexibility and the freedom to work anywhere in the world.
Right.
So today you're in Oxford today with me recording this podcast. In the evening, you might have a meeting.
Right.
And that's absolutely fine because in the job you do, in the work you do, you can do that. So I think it's about it's about working hard so you can get those privileges for sure in your field.
True.
Actually, I'm going to be a little bit nosy now. Can you tell me more about your acting role? Like what type of roles you take on? Is it comedy, serious? You're a very happy person and very jolly. So, like we've been laughing along to our chat. Even they were serious, but we were still smiling. Yeah. So I'm thinking it seems like you take on comedy roles, but am I wrong in saying that?
Actually, my friends say that I should take up stand-up comedy as a profession. So whenever in a group, I'm kind of like the one talking a lot. But to be honest, we don't get too much choice to pick up the role because my schedule allows me only 1 or 2 days of acting. It's vast actually. Once I was a press reporter, once I was a government officer, once I was a jewelry person. I was handing over some set of jewelry to a hero of the movie. The plot is about getting that jewelry getting lost or getting robbed. So I was acting as a jeweler in that show.
That's so exciting. You're a man of many talents.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that.
So long term, when you retire, would you continue with your acting after the work?
Yes, I would like to pursue that passion where I would like to be part of the theater and movies.
when you say theatre, are you talking about live stage acting, or are we talking about moving acting?
Actually, theatre, I watch a lot of plays in my city. Wherever it happens, whenever it happens, I watch. I'm not actively participating in that. That's when my theatre activity is more like a passive entertainment. Whereas movie is active because I'm involved, I do acting. So that's what I plan to do. Of course, technology I would like to continue, at least since it's the happening place, and autonomous vehicles will take maybe another 10, 20 years to mature. At least in the structured environment, structured traffic, it may come up in next 5 years. Whereas there are worlds where it's unstructured traffic and a lot of innovation and effort has to go in. So probably next 10 years, I'll be active technology as well. And I hope it allows me to pursue my passion as well.
That's cool. I love it.
Thank you.
So in terms of acting mode, do you have a script as well?
Yes. When acting, that's what, actually, it's very tough to do an acting. In fact, I thought it was very easy because what you have to do is, for example, we do this podcast. We are free to choose our words and express our way. Whereas in acting, you have to stick to the script. Even a word change is not allowed. So it's a lot of pressure. It's not easy to do acting. Though it's just a one-line dialogue, right? It takes a lot of effort. We practice from morning to noon because you could get called for the shooting anytime. So you have your makeup in the morning at 9 after your breakfast, but your shot could come in 7 p.m. in the evening. So till then you have to make sure you're alert, you're practicing. So when you come, even if it is a single line of dialogue, you lose a word. So you really have to get prompted many times to complete your acting. So you have script as well.
How do you get these roles?
Actually, I have my network. One of my uncles actually is an active serial and movie actor. So he lets me know whenever there's a small role, he just lets me know. And also I'm connected in the movie industry and serial industry, television industry. So they just, what happens is if you are interested, right, typically you have to float your picture and your details to everybody. Yeah. Whenever they see that they match to your overall looks and the character fitment, they just call you in for that.
That's good. And what type of theatre is this? Is this Tollywood?
No, it's Karnataka. It's called Sandalwood. It's the southern part of India, Karnataka, Bangalore. It's called the Sandalwood because Sandalwood is one of the famous products available from Karnataka. That's why it's called Sandalwood.
Perfect. And how do you make that work between your do you do long working hours or the work that you do?
Yeah, it's long working hours because I work with global customers. For example, if it's North America, there's no choice. I have to stay late in the evening. When it's European customer, it's much easier. We have about 4-5 hours of delay. Whereas it's North America, you're out of phase. If it's California, 12 hours exactly out of phase with Bangalore. So it's late hours, but weekends are free. So I choose roles when it's in weekends.
Got it. And choose the weekends. Yeah. So I think that's really important. I think that's probably why you're so happy and so jolly. It's because you're doing work because you have to do work. But it's interesting, but it can get a bit tedious. But the fact that you're balancing your weekends with the acting roles, your passion, I think that is a work-life balance. And I think that's extremely healthy. And do you recommend that to your peers, your students that come to you?
Yes, actually, I always talk about that. So whenever that's kind of whatever you like when you're doing, it's like stress buster by itself. So you just get rejuvenated when you go for an acting session, come back, you feel something accomplished and you could do something what you wanted to. Of course, technology is something definitely interesting, but this is something which is a kicker, which will bring in a lot of energy to you.
Okay, just to end off our podcast, do you want to do a one-line, your favorite dialogue from something that you've done on any of your movies?
Actually, it's not my dialogue. But one of our matinee idol, Dr. Rajkumar, is a very popular figure, national, internationally. I would just say one bit of it because it's a very popular one, always used. It's one from the mythological movies called Bhakta Prahalada. It's about God Lakshmi Narasimha. So I'll just say a bit about it. Before that, I'll just say that my family has been very supportive in whatever I'm doing because when I go on solo travel, I have my wife who is doing her PhD in Sanskrit. And she's a yoga teacher. My daughter, Swasti, she's on her second +2 college. So they've let me free. Otherwise, it's not easy in a family environment. They say I am on my own, I do this, I do that. So I just want to thank them as well in this podcast. So
give us your favorite dialogue.
This is dedicated to our matinee idol, Dr. Rajkumar, who is globally known for his excellency in acting and singing. The movie is from a dialogue called Bhakta Prahalada. The movie was released in 1980s and very popular mythological movie. The dialogue goes like this. Nanaru Kashyapa Brahmana Maga Didigarbha Sanjata Chaturmukha Brahmana Mommaga Vidatanale Vidibaraha Badalesi Maranavan Mettininta Mahavira.
What does that mean? Do you want to tell
It says that it's about Hiranyakashipu, who is one of the avatars in Dashavatara in our mythology. So he says that I am son of Hiranyaksha and grandson of Brahma himself. That's what it says.
Oh, cool. And that was in Karnataka?
Kannada movie.
Kannada. Okay.
Bhakta Prahalada. It was released in 80s actually, but very relevant and very goosebumps. You get goosebumps when you watch that movie today.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me and having an interesting conversation.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity.